Good day, and welcome to our short video explanation and demonstration of how to set up digital signage for free, assuming you have a PC or something you can run it off of. And when I say free, there's a lot of digital signage software tools that are out there, but that claim to be free, but they're like free download. Okay, that's not free. Free for 30 days. Okay, that's not free. Or insanely limited functionality. So it's a free, but not really. What we're going to show you is actually free, and after a couple of weeks of goofing around with different things, we've settled on one that we like. We're not being paid for this, by the way. This is a completely honest view and explanation. So let's go through a couple things before we get to it. The first thing is, well, let's go to show you what the product is. We're talking about digitalsignage.com. So there it is. Let's go over some of the negatives before we get started. The first thing is that with the free version, you don't get transitions between the different slides, between the different panes, or scenes as they're called. Is that a big deal for you? If it is, then you're going to want to pay. It's about 30 bucks a month, I think, for that version. It isn't for me. I would much prefer transitions, but I'm not going to pay for them. Also, there are a whole pile of pre-built what they call scenes, which are just things that are assembled into a single package. Things like a particular background with a box around it, with the weather and maybe an RSS feed. That kind of stuff is pre-built, and there's lots and lots of them if you pay, and there's fewer, although still lots, if you don't pay. Next thing is that they claim that you can play it, as you can see here, on lots of different devices, and you can. But one of the ways you can play it, they claim, is using the browser rather than downloading a player software, which is free. My experience has been that you can't do it, that it's not stable and reliable. I talked to tech support about it, and they said, yeah, we don't recommend it. So if you have to run it through a browser, this probably isn't for you. However, you just download the app and you're on your way. Next thing, scenes and components. These are the things that you snap together to build your presentation and your signage, and some of them just don't work, which is a little annoying, but it's not the end of the earth. Again, I can live with this. The last two things are, well, the one is a little annoying for me, but it's hardly a crisis. And that is, if you're pushing this to a device, well, let's pick on a PC so you understand it. If you have a PC with two screens, so we'll keep it nice and simple, this software will stretch and display on both screens. You can't say assign your presentation, your signage to the left screen and do something else on the right screen. And you can't set it to display on both screens. It's just going to display on both screens. So in my case, I built a presentation, I built some signage. The previews look great on a single screen. When I went to actually run it on the dual screen system that I had, it just stretched across and looked like hell. Well, I really had two choices. I could have the canvas be 2 screens wide and then everything would be fine. Or you can do what I did, which is I simply set the 2 screens to be duplicated so that as far as Windows is concerned, it's just 1 screen. So that was a bit annoying for me, but that was really about the only thing that sort of got me unhappy. That gets us to the best thing about this system, which is this little button right here, live chat, also over here. Live chat, these guys are on, they're helpful, they're friendly. Worked with a guy named Joe, worked with a couple other guys. They're pretty happy. They answer your questions, they're friendly. You don't have a giant queue. They'll get to you within 20, 30 seconds, and they won't get back to you tomorrow. They'll fix it and work with you right away. The next thing that's good about this is Signage Studio. Signage Studio is their app, which is free, that lets you build the presentations or the signage. And under Help, there's videos, and there's a lot of them, and they're short, so they get to the point. You don't have to watch. It's not like some 2-hour webinar where you have to sort of clip through it to get to your point. They have short answers that are direct with video explaining how to get through things if you have questions before you get a hold of the chat guys. All right, so let's get started. And guess where you click when you want to get started? You click Get Started. And this comes up and it says, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to create a new account. And it's asking you whether you want Lite or Pro. These are the same thing. So and you can toggle back and forth. So I don't know why it asks you this, but let's just click Go Pro for fun. These are just examples, sample boards that you can go through. I don't care about any of them. None of them are what I want. So, yeah, so. All right, so there's some examples. I don't care about them. Just go to direct download, download Signage Studio, and install it. I'm not going to waste your time with the install because it's click next, so there's nothing to do there. Launch Signage Studio, and well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't have an account, so I want to create a new account. And this is asking you, well, what type of business are you in? This is so it can get you started. I don't care, so I'm just going to click Create Account again. And it's asking, well, what is it? Well, let's go with Up and You Are Tech. I am good to go. Create new account. Update stations. Sure, just click Save on this. And this is where it takes you to. And this is in what they call simple mode, which you'll see in the top right-hand corner. I find simple mode to be too simple. I find it quite confusing. They have tried to limit things to make it easier for people, but I just find it a mess. So let me explain a couple of things that are here by changing first into the advanced mode, and things will just make more sense. So I just click on that in the top right hand corner, click advanced mode, and it's the same thing, just things are, well, they make more sense to me anyway. So this is junk that well, I call it junk. It's junk that it loaded for me because they were trying to get me started, which is really nice of them, but I don't want that. Okay, so let's start by explaining what these various things are, these elements. So let's go to navigation and we'll start with campaign. Campaign is really what you care about, specifically in the timeline. So what you have in your timeline is your output. And in the output, you can see your screen type, which cleverly is right here. And you can see this one's called SD3. And you can see here, it could be called anything. It could be called I like cheese. It doesn't make any difference. And you can see that the output is 1 minute long. And it's going to look like this. It's going to have information at the top and then 3 panes below. And now I can drag elements or scenes or both to the various frames that are here. And I know you don't really follow that, but you will in just a minute. So let's go through it. Let's move down to screen types now. So we'll explain this first section. So I'm going to click on screen type. And you can see here they are. That's just a single ugly screen. That's 2 screens, right? That's just 2 frames. And then this one, you can see he's got more stuff in. And you can select, and you can drag, and you can delete. Sometimes you have to right-click and delete. Sometimes you can just press the delete key on your keyboard and delete. So I'm going to do that. There we go, and gone. And I could create a new one, and you just drag it around. And there we go. We're going to come back to this, so don't worry about it. Resources, mostly things like graphics, RSS feeds, things like that. We'll come back to that as well. But you can click on any of them. Double click and you'll see what's there. These are just single graphics that you may choose to use somewhere. There we go. Now the scenes. This is absolutely key. A scene is a combination of things. It's a combination of components and resources. So a component are things like RSS feeds and a clock and whatever else. So we're going to come back to this, so don't worry about it just yet. Then stations. Stations are the machines, your tablets or your PCs that you are going to communicate with. So let's go through, let's set up a basic campaign from scratch. All right, so there's a bunch of resources that were built in for this particular presentation, which I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of it, not because I have to, but just because it's clutter and it's just going to confuse me. So I'm going to select all of these by doing the control, by clicking on the first item, then going down to the bottom, selecting the last item, and then I'm going to press this little X. I could right click and select delete, except it will only delete one of them if I do that. Here I can dump them all at once. Gone. So all that junk's gone, and you can see I've got a gig of storage here, which is a ridiculous amount of space for these types of things. Now I'm going to scene editor, and I'm just going to get rid of this stuff. You don't have to. You could just ignore it. It just is extra junk, but I just don't want it around. So you're going to be tempted to go to your screen types and do your screen layout first. My suggestion is that instead of doing that, unless you really have your graphics already built and you know what you're doing, my suggestion is that you should start with the scene. So let's do that, and you'll hopefully catch on to why I'm saying that. Let's go. So I'll go to Scene Editor, and I'm going to click plus, and I can just build a generic scene. I'm just going to call this one test. Let's make this 500 by 400. Doesn't make any difference for the purpose of this conversation. This is 500 by 400. Now I can go in the middle here and I can select components and I can just drag stuff out. So I can go to the clock and I can drag the clock out. I can drag out an RSS feed. I can do that kind of stuff. I can change the background. But why do that when there's a whole pile of stuff already built in? So I'm going to right click on that and delete it because it's just extra garbage. Then I'm going to go to library. Now this is great. These are free scenes that are already built. So let's go to global scenes. And there we go. You see there's all kinds of scenes that are pre-built. Now I'm going to go to, well, let's choose weather for instance. And if, by the way, I was not using the free one, I would see many more than this. But because I'm using the free version, I'm limited to these, I don't know, 100,000, whatever, a whole pile of them. So I'm going to go to this. I can click on any of these and they will preview. Now I know one that I like for my playing with this so far is the 5-day forecast. And I believe it's this number 9 one. It's got a blue background. There we go. So that's one that I liked. And so I'm going to select that. Now I can press play if I want to preview this, and you can see there's no real animation in this one, so it's not doing much, but it's what I want. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to suck it in. Something critical to remember is that none of your work will be saved unless you save it. So click File and click Save and Upload. It's giving me an error message. I don't care about it because I'm not finished this yet. I'm just going to click Save, and it's going to push it up. Now I can close my app. I can relaunch it. Calgary Tech. By the way, the little remember me check mark there doesn't work, so don't get too frustrated by it. And look, my resources, all the things I deleted are gone still. It's all wonderful. And it won't prompt you when you press the X to save, so make sure you do that. Okay, so let's go back to the scene editor, and there's weather. That's it's number 37. All of this is editable, so I can go into this item right here where it says city name, and if I double click, you can see it comes up with this window, and you go, well, it looks pretty plain. That's because it's white. See, so if I highlight it, so I can go there and I can change this just for the heck of it. I'm going to set it to blue. I'm going to set it to bold. There we go. And because I'm going to have the date running somewhere else, I don't want this here. I'm going to right click on this and select delete. Gone. I also don't want this here. So I'm going to delete that. Gone. Now, there's a couple of quirky things when you're working with scenes that you need to know. So one of them is that there are anchors. So I'm going to double click on this one. And what I'm going to do is on the right-hand side, I'm going to go down to position and static. And you'll see that this is locked. So I can drag this, but it's just going to snap back. And so if I take the horizontal constraint off, I can move it anywhere I want in that row, but I can't move it anywhere else. And that can be quite frustrating if you need to move it. So in my case, I know I want to take off the vertical constraint and I want to move it up a bit. And now I'm going to lock it down. So, okay, so now I want to go in and I want to change this text from sample text. And again, it's white, so it's hard to see, but it's there. So I double click on it. And on the right-hand side here under properties, I can highlight it. And I'm going to change this for the sake of this conversation to something that we can all see, which will be, let's go with something, let's go with red. So at least I can read it here. So I can say, this is not subject to legal interpretation. I don't know what that means. I just put it in. I can change the font size, right? So I can set it bold and underline. I can do what I want. 14, there we go. Now, if I don't click File and Save, it won't save it. So we'll just ignore that particular error message because it's not relevant. Okay, so we have now one scene. Now you could add dozens of these scenes. It doesn't make any difference. For the purpose of this conversation, we're just going to say we just wanted this one scene that was pre-built, and the rest of it are just going to be like still graphics and clocks and really standard components, nothing too complex, background, stuff like that. So let's go build a campaign. Click on campaigns and then to timeline here. And this is the screen that it's selected. I don't want to use that one. So I'm going to go here to Screen Templates, and I'm going to, again, just for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to change it to this one. I'm going to drag it up and drop it. Then I'm going to right click on this one and I'm going to delete it. Yes, I'm certain I want to delete it. There we go. So now I've got a simple 2-frame timeline. And I'm going to let this one run for, let's do a 10-second time frame here. And this whole thing is just too long too. So if you double click on this, you can't change the time here, but I can't drag the time. How do I change that time? Easy. Click over here on timeline and you can see it's set to 1 minute. Come over here, set that to, let's do 20 seconds, and we'll set that to 0 minutes. There we go. And look, it changed. So this is a tiny little cycle. Now, what I have in here are, I have these 5 or 6 channels that were from the previous campaign, which I don't care about. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete them all. Bye. There, to save you the time from watching that, I just did that off camera. And so now I've got 2 channels, as they're called, left. And you can see I have 2 frames up here. And I could add more. I can add more channels. A channel is basically what fits into a frame. So let's show you how that works, because it's not that hard. So I'm going to go to here, I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to take this channel, and I'm going to drag it down to this left frame. And you'll notice that the corner changes to match this color. And this one I'm going to drag down to here, and now you can see they're color coded, so I know what's going on. Except if I click this little preview button up here, nothing much happens because there's nothing in these channels. So that's not particularly useful. What I've got to do is put something in here. What would you put in there? Hey, here's an idea. How about a scene? So I'm going to go to Scenes. I'm going to put the weather in here. So I'm going to drag this weather out, and I'm going to drop it in this channel right there. And now I want to add something to this channel here, this channel 1. And so I'm going to just upload some graphics. So I'm going to go to Resources. I'm going to click plus. I'm going to say, well, where are you stealing them from? Well, I'm going to pull it out of my logo. And I'm just going to upload some graphics that I've just got lying around here. I'm going to upload this Redphone 9. And I can do Redphone 5. These are just different graphics that I've built. Capacitive touchscreen and resistive. I'm going to load those up just for fun. And I'm just going to click open. Now that added all of them, but they're just added into the system. They're not still in the channel. Let's show something interesting. You see I've got these graphics here and they say JPEG and they look fine. I have to click File, Save, and Upload before I can use them, which is a bit obnoxious. So now I can take this Redphone 5 and I can drag it out to here. And I can make this, let's make it that long, and I'll take digital capacitizer. Capacitizer? Yeah, that's not the word. Let's go play this now, and you'll see what this does. There you go, right? So isn't that lovely? Now I'm going to press stop. Now take a look. This is the little quirk that may catch you. So if I go to the plus here and I try to add more content, and I choose, let's choose first capacitive touchscreen. There we go. And now I'm going to delete this one for the sake of argument. And I'll get rid of this one as well. And now I take this one up and I drag it in here. And I go to preview, it's not going to be there. And wow, is that annoying. It's a little thing, but where is it? Well, that's because I didn't save and upload. And there it is. Now, when I go to preview, it works just fine. All right, so let's finish this off and build something a little bit more useful than what we've done. Okay, so now I'm going to build a screen type. I'm going to do basically everything from scratch again. But I'm going to click here, I'm going to click New Screen, it's called Screen Division, and I'm going to select New. I want this as a background. So I want that frame to be there, and I'm going to call it, the names here are irrelevant, by the way, so I wouldn't bother naming them. And I want this to be a full 1920 by 1080. And you'll notice that dragging them doesn't always get them right where you want them. So that's probably the happiest place to be. Pixel wide 0. There we go. So I want this, the whole screen. I'm going to click the plus, and I want a frame here. And I want to put that along the top. And I want another one, and I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to put another one, and I'm going to put it here. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to put another one down at the bottom here. And I'm going to put the clock probably in that. Just something goofy. So something just to prove the point. So there we go. So there's a layout. It doesn't really make much difference what layout. If I want these things to be exact, you can see that I've got snap turned on. You can see this. It's very hard to see with the little line here. Or I can just go edit the numbers, and I can say I want this to be, 200, right? Now I'm just going to drag this out because I want to do this fast. But there we go. That's my screen, and I'm going to call this UR Tech Screen Layout. There we go. It doesn't make a difference what you call it. Then click Save and Upload, and if you don't, things just don't work. So just save and upload pretty much anytime you make a change. Go to Timelines, go to Screen Templates, drag out our new one, and I'll put that in for the second little bit here, the second 10 seconds of this. And now you think, oh geez, well I've got all these different things. How do I fill these up now? Well, not very hard. Click the plus, click a local channel. Click the plus, click a local channel. You just add them. So how many did we have here? I had 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 4 new channels. Local channel, and I don't care what it's calling them. So here, now I'm going to name these just for fun. I'm going to double click on this one, and you can see over here, I'm going to call this, this is the weather pane. This one was the red phone. So I'm going to call this the, I'll just call this rate pane, because you can call it whatever you want. Now this one's not assigned, as I said. So I'm going to make this one the background. So I'm going to drag this out and put it on the background here. There we go, and you can see that's there. So I'm going to call this background. And then this one I'm just going to drag down to here, and I'm going to call this one header. It doesn't make any difference. Again, you can call these whatever your heart desires. Drag this down, or you can just leave them, which I'll do for the others. So here I'll put this one in. I'll put bottom frame. Just you get an idea here. Doesn't make much difference what they're called. And you can change the color. So I'll change this to let's change it to that. There we go. All right, so let's start dragging stuff into this. So I'm going to go to Components, and I'm going to go to Clock, and I'm going to drag the clock into, whoops, you don't drag it into here. You drag it into wherever you want the clock, which I'm going to put right there. There we go. And I only want it from 10 seconds on. So I'm going to go over here, and I want it exact. So I'll say 10 seconds, and I want it to last for 10 seconds. There we go. Now I'm going to add, what else can I add in here? So in here, let's go to RSS feed. Let's go grab an RSS feed. And because that's kind of fun, and I'll go to, there's a few RSS options here. Let's do RSS news. I'm just going to drag that out and put it here. And I want that actually in this larger frame. So that's not where I want it. I'm going to move it. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete. I want to put it into this one here. There we go, which is slightly larger. You'll recall that's that little orange frame right there. And in RSS feed, I can double click on it. I get the properties. And over here, it'll say, well, how do you want to handle it? And this, I don't like really any of this. So I'm going to set this to be a bluish, and I want it to be much larger than that. I want the headings to be not smaller, larger. I want them to be 28, and I want that to be a little darker blue, and I want the text to be, I'm making this up here, obviously. I'll make it 22. So it's a little bit larger and easier to see. Now you think, okay, well, that's an RSS feed. No, I would like it to be the RSS feed I like. Well, here are some pre-built ones, and yes, you can put in a custom URL. You can just paste it in here now, whatever you'd like. So you can go search for an RSS feed. I'm going to go for, let's go to something non-denominational. Let's go with business. There it is, and it will load in. So there's that, and then in the left frame, what am I going to do here? This is the, which frame is this? I'm going to double click on this because I've already forgotten which frame it is. That's the pink, that's the right, that's this one here. So what am I going to put in here? Let's put a picture. Sure, so I could take a PowerPoint graphic or whatever else, and I could upload it, and I can put it in. Let's put this resistive touch graphic in here. There we go. And for the header, I'm just going to put some text in, and let's show you how to do that. So we'll go to Components, and then I believe it's called Label. Oh, by the way, you'll see here that there's all of these things called Enterprise only. That's if you're paying. But look at all the other ones you get if you aren't paying. So quite a lot. External video, I believe that goes out to YouTube. I'm not positive that, you got to check. But let's go find Label. Here we go. So I'm going to drag this up to here. I'm going to call this, so I'm going to double click on it, which will change the properties over here. And I'm going to type something in Label. I don't want it to be green. I really hate that. So I'm going to go with Let's go with that, whatever color that is. Start typing in here. So the label is going to be URTex free dig signage. Sure, well, garbage. How's that? There we go. And but I want that to be centered actually. So there we go. And let's just see what that looks like now. So, oh, what's missing is the background. So the background, I want to use, let's go to resources, and I want to use, let's use the red phone again. We'll just drag it out and we'll put it right there. And that will get stretched to fit over the entire thing. So let's play this now and see what this looks like. Isn't this exciting? In about 3 more seconds, it'll flip. There we go. There's my RSS feed. Man, that looks like hell. But you get the idea, right, of how that works. All right, so let's get out of that. We'll stop. So let's take a look at this, because you may have noticed that the weather isn't actually there. And you're thinking, well, there's text, but there's nothing actually there. How do we change that? Just double click on the weather component. And on the right side here, enter your city. This will take postal codes, it'll take zip codes, it'll take whatever. I'm going to put in, let's put in Calgary because that's where I am right now. And it won't take unless you click out of it. So click somewhere else, and there you go. Now I can go preview this again, click the play in the top left-hand corner, and look, we have got weather. Yay! And I could go fix these this alignment if I wanted, but I'm not going to for the sake of this demonstration. Let's show a couple of advanced things. So under label, I can set effects. Actually, all of these things you can set effects on. So I can have it alpha blend. I can have it, so I'm just going to get rid of these. I can have a border on it. I can set, you're going to go through these on your own. I'm not going to take more of your time, but I did want to point them out. The shadow actually I've used a few times when it comes to text. So let's go to, let's go to shadow. I'll actually do that. So I'll go to shadow. And I find the shadow to be very large here. So I don't like that a whole lot. I'm going to set it to black, and I'm going to set it to, there we go. We'll just leave it like that. Now watch this. I'll go to play. And you'll see the shadow there. See the shadow behind? Now, of course, that whole text is a mess, right? But you get the idea that that's what shadow is. So hopefully now you've seen why I suggest you create your scenes first and then you create your screen types. Because if you want your frames to match exactly, the easiest way to do it is to build the content first and then make the screen match it rather than the other way around. There are lots of things in the library having to do with masks and other things that you may really like. But as far as just being straightforward goes, that's the easiest way to do it. Most of these elements can be used for kiosks. So what that means is, well, here's an example. Let's say you were trying to build a kiosk for a mall. So it's a store finder and information and, police and blah, 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 blah. Well, you can do that as well. I'm not going to show you here because this is just supposed to be the down and dirty to get you up and running. But it does work. You can make these things clickable. And that gets us to the help. So let's go to help. And the most interesting help here is the video tutorial. So here's the video help. Now, I haven't done much with kiosks, so let's go see what they have on kiosk. And I genuinely don't know. But look, there we go. So let's go to kiosk and we'll go to touch. Let's go to intro to events.
Welcome to the interactive digital
There we go. Guy talking.
And our display item.
Short, concise, really helpful.
In real implementation.
So now the thing you need to know now is how to get this to actually play. You've built your presentation or your signage. You've got your screens laid out. You're all happy. So you go to player and you think you get player, but that only takes you to this studio thing, which is not helpful. Go to direct download. And in here, you've got Signage Player. Now you can download it for all of these different things. In my case, I just want to run it on Windows. So Signage Player, I click that, I download it, I install it on the machine in question. As soon as I install it on the machine in question and start to run it, what it will do is it will say, who are you? And ask you to sign in. As soon as you sign in, using the credentials that you just entered for your whole digital signage experience here, what will happen is it will register in the digital signage player. So let's go to stations, and it will show up here as a station. At that point, you can take screenshots so you can see what's going on. You can assign campaigns to it. So at this point, we're pretty much done, but I do want to explain something for people that are going to do more with this. sequences in particular. So timeline, you can just play the timeline and everything's happy, right? Now, however, you can also go to sequences and create a group of timelines. So let me explain what that means. If you keep extending the set, if I go double click on this timeline, and I call this, I don't know, UR Tech timeline, right? That doesn't make any difference. I don't care how I spelled it. And I make this, yeah, let's make it 25 minutes. There we go. By the time I'm done adding channels here, this could be a mess. So what you might want to do is build it in smaller chunks. So build a frame or two on one timeline, and then build another timeline, then another timeline, and another timeline. Keep your channels straight. It just keeps everything straight in your head. Then you can go to sequences, and you can just drag these timelines on, set the different time frames you want, and they will run in the order that you have. You can say whether they repeat or not. And what that will do is make your complex signage much easier to understand. However, you don't have to do that. It's just an advanced thing. When I double click on sequences, I get Kiosk Mode, and that's how you turn on Kiosk Mode as well, by the way. So if you're trying to test it, this is how you're going to have to do it. Okay, I think that's enough for one session, but that should get you through your free digital signage, and you can see it's actually quite useful. It works pretty well. If you have any questions or concerns, please get a hold of us at www.urtech.ca. Thanks and have a great day. Bye-bye.